Hey guys, what's up? It's Eric with Advanced Automotive. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're over here at the shop checking out this 2012 Ford Fusion. Let me go ahead and show you the vehicle. All right, so what we have is a 2012 Ford Fusion. It's got the 4-cylinder engine, and the complaint that they're having is that the AC compressor clutch is not engaging. I believe the shop replaced the compressor and they charged the system up, but the AC compressor is still not coming on. I think they were doing some checking the relays and whatnot. I just got here. I have not touched the vehicle, so as you can see, this has already been taken apart, but they were doing some basic pinpoint checking. Anyways, they decided to call me, so I'm here now. Let's go ahead and start this thing up and verify the complaint. Got the key right here in the seat. I'm gonna go ahead and start this thing up. All right, so the vehicle is running. AC is on. Yeah, AC switch is on. We have the blower at full speed. This is set all the way to cold. And let's go ahead and move under the hood. See if we can eyeball the compressor. Yeah, I can see the compressor down there. Let me see if I can get a flashlight. All right, so I got my flashlight here. Let me shine it down. As you guys can see, the AC compressor clutch is not spinning with the pulley, but the AC switch is on. So I think first things first, let me go ahead and hook up the scan tool and see if we have command from the PCM to the clutch relay for this compressor to come on. All right guys, so we're inside the vehicle. Again, the vehicle is running and the AC is on. Got the MaxiSys hooked up here. This is not my MaxiSys, this belongs to the shop. As you can see, the touchscreen actually works on this one. But easy enough, they already had it hooked up, so I'm going to just utilize this while I have it. Hit OK. Now, if you guys know anything about these Ford vehicles, most of the time with the manual HVAC control unit, the compressor is going to be controlled directly by the PCM. But the PCM needs to see some certain data PIDs. Let me see what this is saying. Is vehicle equipped with navigation system? No, it is not. Not equipped. I'm sorry, what was I saying? Okay, so the PCM, in order for it to allow the AC compressor to come on, it needs to see a few different things. Number one, it needs to see that the AC refrigerant pressure sensor is reading that there is sufficient pressure in the system. Because if you have too low of a pressure in the system for the refrigerant, it's not going to allow the AC compressor to come on. You could try to turn it on all day long, but it's not going to actually turn the AC on. The other thing that it is looking at is the engine coolant temperature or the cylinder head temperature, I believe. And in order for it to allow the AC to come on, it's going to need to see that the engine is not overheating. Let's go ahead and go to live data. You can see I went into the engine control module. Okay, I'm having a little bit of trouble here. What happened? There it goes. These Autels are great scan tools, but not so great with the touchscreen. So it needs to see that, and I believe also the ambient temperature sensor, which a lot of times if you have an ambient temperature reading on the instrument cluster or on the radio here, it can be a dead giveaway. I don't see an ambient temperature reading at the moment. There is a check engine light on, but I believe that's because the air filter is disconnected, or the air intake hose. So the mass airflow is disconnected. Let's let this thing establish communication. All right, so we are communicating. Let's look at the AC pressure sensor. It's showing 31 PSI. Well, that's not a good sign, because you know, you would expect to see at least somewhere above 75 PSI normally. This seems kind of low. So let's look at the command for the output of the clutch. Let me scroll through here. So there's the air conditioning request signal. This is the request signal from the HVAC control unit saying that we are requesting the AC. You can see this is the AC switch. We have it on. So the signal is reaching from the switch over to the PCM. The signal is reaching the PCM. So We know that's good. Oh, here we go. Air conditioning compressor commanded state. So you can see, even though we have the AC switch on and it's showing that we are requesting it, this computer is not allowing the AC compressor clutch to come on. And so if you ask me, I think the reason being has something to do with the fact that this pressure sensor is reading so low. Like I said, typically you would not see that type of pressure reading. You should see on the resting system somewhere at least around 70, 75 psi, upwards to like 90 to 100. Anywhere in that range would be normal, but in the low 30s, you know, that's pressure is just too low. The other thing we can look at is the engine coolant temperature. Let's see what we got. Here we have cylinder head temperature, 200 degrees, 203 degrees. So that's normal. The engine is warmed up. We can look at the intake air temperature. Again, the mass airflow sensor is disconnected right now. So of course we're going to show -40, but I'm really more concerned about the ambient temperature. That's what I'm concerned about. And the coolant temperature, which I'm just not seeing a data PID for the coolant temperature, engine coolant temperature. It may be that it just utilizes the cylinder head temperature sensor, and that's how it determines coolant temperature. Let me scroll through the rest of this here. Yep, I don't see anything. Go back up to the top to the C's. Cylinder head temperature. I don't see anything that says coolant. So yeah, everything else looks normal to me except this AC pressure sensor. So let's go ahead and hook up the manifold gauges and see what the actual pressure reading is. All right guys, so as you can see, we have the AC machine connected. Here is the high side line. I already have the adapter screwed all the way down. Here is the low side. This is fully attached. Let's go ahead and take a look at the pressure readings here. Let me zoom in, get you guys a good look. So we have the high side gauge up here and the low side gauge. Now if we take a look at the gauge, you'll see that our pressure is pretty low. So look at this outer number. You'll see that on the low side we only have about 15 psi. Then on the high side we're only showing about the same thing. So this is pretty equal, but this is not a good reading. This is not sufficient pressure. Like I said, if the system were charged and the compressor was off, we should see somewhere between 70 and 90, maybe even 100 psi worth of pressure. But it doesn't look like they charged the system at all, even though the mechanic told me that they replaced the compressor and charged the system. So if they charged it, it must have a pretty big leak. So I guess let's see if we can find a leak or find out if they charge the system at all. I guess the first thing we could probably do is pull a quick vacuum on it and see if it holds vacuum. All right guys, so the machine is pulling a vacuum. It's going to be about 5 minutes that this thing is going to run, pulling a vacuum on the system. Now I did have to use the recovery function because there was a little bit of refrigerant in the system. I think it was like 0.3, something like that, but you know, it wasn't enough to do anything. So I'm curious as to whether or not the mechanic charged the system and there was some type of significant leak, or maybe they inputted the wrong amount and they only charged like 0.3 ounces or something like that. I'm not really sure, but we're gonna pull a vacuum on it. We're gonna see if it holds a vacuum. As long as it holds a vacuum, then we can be pretty certain that it doesn't have a leak, and then we're gonna recharge the system and see what happens. Okay guys, so as you can see, the vacuum and recovery has completed. Looks like it pulled out 0.044 pounds, which isn't much, but now as you can see, we are in a vacuum on both sides. So we're gonna let it sit probably about 5 minutes and see what these readings look like then. Okay guys, so it's been about 5 minutes now. You can see we are still holding vacuum. So I mean, this may just be a case that the mechanic who did this might have just punched in the wrong numbers on the AC machine. I don't know. We're gonna go ahead and charge up the AC system and see what happens. Okay guys, a quick tip: if you need to charge the AC system in your vehicle and you're not sure how much refrigerant the vehicle takes, look under the hood and try to find this yellow sticker here. You look right up here, it tells you the charge level, 22 ounces, which is also 1.4 pounds. That's going to be the charge level. The machine is already set up. We already punched in the amount, so it's going to charge the system right now. You can see it's charge in progress, so it's charging up the system here. 22 ounces, so we're gonna let this thing charge up and start it up and see if the compressor comes on. All right guys, so our system is fully charged with 22 ounces. Let's go ahead and move inside the vehicle and see if the AC turns on. All right, so I've got the key right here. I'm gonna go ahead and start it up. Got the AC on right now. Let me move under the hood and see if the compressor clutch is engaged. All right, so looking under the hood, there's our AC compressor. Clutch is still not engaged. Okay, you know what? That might have something to do with the fact that our air intake and our mass airflow sensor is not plugged in. So let me put all this stuff back together, clear the codes, and then start it back up. All right, so just for the sake of time, I went ahead and I mocked this air box up and reconnected the mass airflow sensor. I haven't cleared the codes yet, but I did go ahead and start the vehicle. As you can see, the engine is running at the moment. The AC is still not cooling though. Let's go ahead and take a look at the compressor. Again, I don't know if you guys can see, but our compressor clutch is not moving. Let's move back over to the scan tool and see if our request signal. Again, I haven't cleared the code, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Let's try to reestablish communication here. Check out our pressure sensor is reading 156 psi. So now we are in a normal range. Our request signal is on, but again, our compressor commanded state, actually our compressor commanded state is on, but the compressor is not on. Let me double check that compressor clutch. So this relay should be commanding the compressor to come on, but the compressor is not on. Okay, did these guys leave something disconnected in the fuse box here? Quite possibly. Let's try to figure out which one of these is for the compressor clutch relay and see if we might have something disconnected. All right guys, so looking at the wiring diagram, this is a pretty straightforward setup. If you look up here, you'll see the AC clutch relay. This is a 4-pin relay. So when we check this relay, we should have 2 powers on pin 1 and 3. If you look at pin 1, that power comes from this fuse number 47, which is a 10 amp fuse, which gets its power from this PCM power relay. So this PCM power relay has to be engaged in order for the power to reach pin 1. And then also on pin 3, that power comes from fuse number 25, which is a 10 amp fuse, which gets its power directly from the battery. So again, when we check it at the relay here, we should have 2 powers. And then over here on pin 2, this is going to be the control side of the relay. And if you follow it down, you'll see that this goes directly to the PCM. This is the engine computer. So the engine computer grounds this circuit when it wants to power up this relay. Then whenever this coil is energized, it's going to close this switch, allow the power to come out here on pin number 5, which goes directly to the AC clutch. And of course the AC clutch has a ground on there too, so that's something that we might be concerned with, is this ground G103. So if everything else here is working, we need to check this ground. But first things first, let's go ahead and find this relay. All right guys, back over at the vehicle. As you can see, I've got my relay jumper kit here, and I've got this power probe here. It doesn't belong to me, it belongs to the shop. Looks really nice, kind of cool. As you can see, we have it connected to the battery. So this power probe is live and ready to go. Now I have the layout for the battery junction box. You can see we have the PCM power relay here. we have the AC clutch relay right there. So we can go to this relay, which is going to be this one right here. This is the AC clutch relay. And then we also have the two fuses. If you guys recall, we had fuse number 47 that we needed to check, and then also fuse number 25. So these two fuses we're going to need to check. Probably the first easiest thing to do before we jump to checking the relay is to just go ahead and check those fuses. So number 47 is going to be this third one down. So let's go ahead and check it. We have power on that side. Let's check the other side. We have power on the other side. And then fuse number 25 is going to be this one right here, which is the third one down, this 7.5 amp fuse. I'm gonna go ahead and check. We have power on that side. Let's check the other side. Oh, and check that out. We only have power on one side of the fuse, this side, but when I check the other side, we do not have power. So it looks like this fuse is blown. Pull it out. Oh yeah, can you guys see that fuse? It's definitely blown. I wonder if this is why they changed the compressor to begin with. Maybe it was shorted out and blowing this fuse. So let's go ahead and put another fuse in there and see what happens. All right guys, so I double checked the wiring diagram and it turns out that it should have a 10 amp fuse, but the fuse that was in the socket there was a 7.5 amp fuse. So I wonder if that has anything to do with the fact that this fuse was blown. I don't know, there's a lot of I wonders here. The shop is actually closed now and the mechanic who was working on this is long gone, so I really don't know any backstory. I'm really just kind of working backwards here. So again, we have a fuse. I went ahead and I grabbed a new one. It's a 10 amp fuse, so I'm gonna go ahead and stick it into the slot here. Oh goodness, did you guys see that? Well, I think that was just a connection. Hold on a second. I don't think the fuse is actually blown. Oh yeah, the fuse. Well, it's not that the fuse is blown, but I think we might have taken out the source. Oh shoot. Yeah, we have a short circuit somewhere here. I don't want to get shocked. Ah, holy crap. What just happened? Okay guys, so we definitely have a short circuit somewhere on the system. Wow. Okay. I wasn't expecting that. But let's go from there. Okay guys, so let me take you back to the wiring diagram. Now if you guys recall, the fuse 25 is a 10 amp fuse. Like I said, there was a 7.5 amp fuse in there that was blown. I went ahead and I stuck a 10 amp fuse in there, and as you can see, that fuse actually melted because there is a short to ground somewhere. And now what I'm hoping is that we didn't damage something, because now I don't have power on either end of this fuse. But either way, if we have a short circuit, if we follow this through over here, you'll see that when this AC clutch relay is closed, that's going to send power down to the AC compressor clutch. So it's possible that our AC compressor clutch is shorted. I mean, that's a possibility. Or we could even have a short in the wiring somewhere here. Or heck, we could even have a short somewhere inside of this battery junction box. I mean, that's highly unlikely, but I think probably the next thing we should do is maybe go down to the AC compressor clutch and disconnect it and see if we still have a short to ground. Okay guys, so just to make sure I didn't melt the terminal inside of here, because if you look at the terminal on the right hand side, you can actually see it's nice and shiny, and the left hand side over here where this fuse leg had melted, I don't really see it right there. So let me just make sure we didn't mess up that terminal inside of the fuse box. So I'm just going to stick this blown fuse in here. So I'm going to go ahead and touch it, see if we have power here. Oh yeah, as you can see, we have a good connection, so okay, at least the fuse box is not damaged. All right, let me go move over to the compressor and disconnect it. All right, so luckily the AC compressor clutch connector is really easy to get to. It's right up here. But I noticed something when I was looking at this. Let me see if I can show you guys. Well, first of all, I'm just gonna try to disconnect it. It's kind of hot, so let me just pop this up. All right, so the harness is disconnected, but I want you guys to take a peek at where the harness is at and where it runs underneath that bolt. You see where the bolt for the compressor is? It's better without the flashlight. So, okay, take a look right, well, there in the middle of the screen. I've got a little screwdriver here. You guys see where this wiring harness runs underneath this bolt that is holding on the compressor? I almost wonder if when they tighten this compressor down, they smash this wire in between the block and this bolt here. Oh, look, I see some pieces of wire. Yep. I don't know if you guys can see that. I think we found our culprit. Let me try to zoom in there. See if I can zoom in and show you guys. Yeah. That wire for the compressor clutch is smashed between the bolt and the block. That's why it keeps blowing the fuse. All right, so this is a mistake by the technician who did this. I'm not trying to say anything bad. I'm not calling anybody out, but yeah, it's pretty obvious what happened. Whenever he went to install the compressor, he or she, I'm not sexist, I don't know who it was, but whenever they installed the compressor, they smashed that wire between the bolt and the block, and that's where our short to ground is. Anyways, guys, I know that was a quick video. I tried to cram as much information as I could into the video. Like I always say, I try to make these videos informational, useful, so that you can take these diagnostic procedures into whatever it is you're working on. Now in this case, I'm probably not going to be able to show you guys the fix. I know this is a problem, but at this point, the mechanic is going to fix it tomorrow. I have to go to another shop tomorrow, so I'm not even going to be on this side of town, so I'm not going to be able to film it. The car is probably going to be long gone by then, but I just wanted to share this with you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Like I always say, I hope this video was useful. I hope it was informational. If you liked it, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.